if you want to become somebody who runs their own business, then you must be willing to deal with failure. Do something out of the norm at least once a month. Best thing for an entrepreneur, being able to listen to what a client is saying and be able to realize what the client needs and sell it to them. I'll tell you a little bit about what it isn't, what the Ethel Kofi Startup School isn't, and what it is, to give you a bit of an idea of what you're in for today. What it isn't is, it's not a motivational program on how to become an entrepreneur. It is, however, almost a practical MBA on the steps you need to take in building your business. I have two organizations, Adult Technology Consulting, which is IT Consulting Firm of the Year, and Women in Tech Africa, which is a foundation that spans 30 African countries. So there's a lot of what I'm sharing today. It's about my journey and the things that I've learned along the way. Now, you've just watched a quick video just before talking about the 5 reasons why startups fail. And this video was out somewhere last week. And there were a couple of questions. People were really asking what it meant to be, which was the first one, what it meant to be resourceful. Resourcefulness, being what resources versus resourcefulness. So I decided that this week I'm taking feedback from you guys as you watch. So what you want to know more about, please leave it in the comments or go to Ethel G. Kofi on Facebook, or Ethel Kofi on at Ethel Kofi on Instagram, or at Ethel Kofi on Twitter. Or go to my website, which is www.ethelkofi.com, and just leave me a message, and that will sort of shape what it is that I talk about week to week. And this first month, this is the 4th in the series, it's been a month. This first month, we've been really concentrating on the thinking and the philosophy of an entrepreneur. What things you need to be doing to get ready as an entrepreneur. And one of the things that are most important is resourcefulness. We've dealt with failure, we've dealt with creating success habits. This week we're dealing with resourcefulness. Okay, so let's move on to today's topic. Today's topic is resourcefulness. One of the things that an entrepreneur needs to learn how to do is to be resourceful. You will not have enough money. You will not have enough people. You will not have enough of anything, especially if you are watching me right now and you're sitting in your office and you're planning the day you can quit and start your business. You don't have enough resources. So instead of saying I don't have enough resources, one of the things that almost all entrepreneurs do from the most successful entrepreneurs do is that they are resourceful. They take just the little resources they have and push it and take it to a different height. So we're going to talk about five ways in which you can be resourceful. The first one, which is a major one for me, and I tell everybody this: forget about I need X to do Y. Right? So we do this all the time, right? I've done it before, and I'm sure you've done it in your life. I need 10,000 Ghana cedis to start my business, or I need, which is something that I did about 2 years ago. It's like I need a marketing manager to run a huge marketing campaign, or I need, whatever it is that you think that we need, right? So we say, no, I cannot do this thing in my business. I cannot scale my business. I cannot take my business to the next level. I cannot start my business. And I guess that's a lot. I cannot start my business because I don't have 100,000 cedis, or because I don't have 2,000 cedis. Well, I'm here to tell you, actually, that's not true. That's not true. There are a lot of people that have run businesses with absolutely nothing. Let me give you an example. Richard Branson, if you know anything about Richard Branson, who is the group chairman of Virgin. Virgin is a group of companies. They have airlines. They used to have a record store. They have all that. I think there are maybe about 40 or 50 companies under the Virgin Group. Now, there's a story of a couple of years ago. This is early on when he had started, where he wanted to buy an island. Yes, an island, not a piece of land, a whole island for his wife. He didn't have money. The island cost $5 million. He did not have money. He could not afford it. So he went to the owner of the island and offered the owner of the island $100,000 to buy something that was $5 million. The owner of the island sacked him, said, "You are not a serious human being. How can you come to me and insult me like that?" Right. So at the time, nobody had bought the island, so he went around trying to, get a bank or whatever to help him raise the money. In the meantime, the owner of the island badly needed money, right? So he came back and offered 110. The man said, "Are you mad? I'm selling the thing for $5 million. You want 110?" But it got to the point that the man badly needed money. He was going bankrupt. So he ended up selling a whole island worth $5 million for $180,000 to Richard Branson. Richard Branson, now he's built a resort on the island, and he now leases it out to really like celebrities, and it's $1 million a night. So 180,000, a $5 million property, he leases out for $1 million a night. It's about resourcefulness. Let me talk about even my story, about when I started and I was like, look, I need to be, in my head there was like 100 top companies in Ghana that I want to work with. But how do I get in front of these companies? I need them. When I calculated the marketing budget, I was thinking maybe around, it came around 200,000. And I didn't have 200,000 to run a marketing budget. So I decided, okay, what can I do? So I started writing articles, because I'm a technology person, so I understand technology and what's going on in technology space. So I started writing articles about how technology can help businesses innovate with specific examples. I'd write a white paper and I'd put it up on my website. Over time, I would take those articles and send them to media, so maybe CTFM or Pulse, and I would say, oh, I have a really good article, maybe you want to repost it on your site. Do you know how much free marketing I got out of that? Because somebody who's thinking around innovation and technology, who's a C-level executive in his company, finds this article, finds my name at the bottom of it. I didn't have to spend money, only the time to do the research and write the article. People started reaching out to me because they had seen my articles. I'd written articles on mobile money, all these things that were relevant to the people that I wanted to sell to, right? But in my mind, I said, oh, I can't do this. I need $200,000 in terms of marketing budget, so I can do a big event. Guess what? I did not need that. And from the writing of the blog articles, I began to get invited to speak at events. So events where maybe chief executives of companies that I want to sell to come, I'm standing there speaking to them. This is my opportunity to market my company to them, right? So I'll give them maybe 10 minutes to speak. In that 10 minutes, I speak on the topic and I take 2 minutes to market myself. And at the end of the event, people come up to me and say, oh, my company is thinking about this. This is how I got $200,000 worth of marketing by myself in my house. Forget about I need X to get Y. If you put yourself in that frame of thinking, it means that you will sit down and you will wait. Some people will say, okay, I have to go and I have to wait to save up that money. So let me spend another few years saving up that money. No. If you open your mind and you sit down and you think about it, you'll find a way to get the outcome that you need. So number one, forget about I need X to get Y. Number two, give me a second. Number two is reframe your thinking, right? So have you ever said to yourself, oh, me, I can never stop drinking Coca-Cola. And then at some point something happens and you've gone 3 months without drinking Coca-Cola. Or me, I can never do this. Or, this can never be part of my life. And you find that a set of circumstances happen and you end up being the person who does that. That's what I mean about reframing your thinking. Don't always look at things with a straitjacket. Again, we're going back to resourcefulness, because this is the one thing I think that as an entrepreneur, right, this is the one thing that you need to master, right? Dealing with failure is important, but being resourceful, because you will never have all the resources you need to get to where you need to get to, right? So reframe your thinking. Just really think about the times in your life where you've thought, I'm not the sort of person that does this, or I cannot do this. And then you've ended up doing it. So understand that it does look daunting. It does look difficult. It looks like people like you and I can never be. I mean, I used to look back at people that were invited to speak at really important events, right? They think, oh, I don't know me. I don't think I'm the sort of person that ever. Guess what? This year I've spoken at Oxford University, and this year I've spoken at the G20 African Summit with the European presidents there in the room. You have to mentally remove that thinking that allows you to say, I am not the sort of person that does this. Because if you look at your life, you will see that there are things you have achieved anyway, even though you never thought you could achieve them. So number 2, reframe your thinking. Number 3, adapt to experience. Adapt. It means that don't only learn from your own mistakes, learn from other people's mistakes. So one of the things that I tend to do quite a bit is to look at people who are doing things that I want. That, I look at my career and I look at, okay, what do I want to be in 10 years? And then I look around at people who are there. And I start to, sometimes you might not get an opportunity to speak to them, that they might have written a book, there might be articles on them. Even think about yourself, right? Has it ever been that, you thought this thing is not possible, and then your friend, somebody who is just like you, has gone to achieve it? And in fact, you think, but this person is just like me, right? And then all of a sudden, you begin to sort of, your thinking begins, oh, they've done it, how did they do it? I also want to be able to do it, right? I was watching TV the other day, and somebody I met about 2 years ago, a young lady that I had a conversation with, chatted with, I saw her go up and get an award on BET, and I was just blown away, because it's not quite occurred to me, because we had a conversation. She told me about the work she was doing. She does work in Somalia with young women, and we talked about it. And then I'm watching BET, and she's come up for a BET award. All of a sudden I'm thinking, hey, then me too. You know what I mean? It shifts your thinking because somebody close to you, right? So if you see people, if you look round and you see that what your ambition is, maybe for me it was always that I was going to run multiple companies. It's always been my ambition. I wasn't just going to run one company, I was going to run multiple companies. I was going to have multiple sources of income, which was always my dream. So my mentor, it took me a year to get her to agree to be my mentor, but my mentor is somebody who runs multiple companies, right? She has, she has an image consulting company, she has a communications company, she has multiple companies, she's on the board of certain companies in this country, multiple. So when I saw her and I met her and I talked to her, I was like, this is the person who's going to the place I want to get to. It took me a year for her to even agree to even mentor me and coach me, but I was persistent, right? So I would ask for 5 minutes of it. The first time I met her, I think I asked for 5 minutes of her time. I went and I sat and I asked her a few questions, and I went away with the answers and went to implement the answers. So don't just look at people and adapt without actually going back, right? So if you want a relationship with that person, actually go back and say, this is what I learned from you. These were the specific questions, okay? This is the problem I had when I came to you. How do I manage my team, for instance? And then they give you advice. You go away 3 months later, come back to them. Come back to them and say, this is what you told me to do. I've gone to do it. This and this happened. And this is my feedback. And that's what I did with my mentor. And it took a year. After a year, she said, you know what? Let me mentor you. Let it become an official mentorship relationship. You might not have somebody you see, but I read a lot of books. You can tell. That's why I give out books. So I've read books on one of China's richest men, Jack Ma. I've read books on the owner of the Virgin brand. I've read all the entrepreneurs that I look up to. I have made it my job to learn how they did it, how they maneuvered. That's the process of running a company. Why? Because you must adapt. Because look, you cannot do everything by your own. But it's better to go and learn from somebody who's done it before than try and figure it out yourself and make mistakes. I've gone to meet, if you're in Ghana, you'll know, I've gone to meet Sir Sam Jonah. I asked for 5 minutes of his time. Why? Because he is one of the giants of industry, right? And it's not easy to get a meeting with a man like that, but you have to persist, right? Adapt and learn. Now, the fifth one is be opportunistic. What does it mean, be opportunistic? It means see opportunity everywhere. Everywhere. Everywhere you go. I'm always, somebody says Ethel is always selling. When I go to a meeting, when I'm out with people, somebody introduces somebody new. Oh, you know, my name is Ethel. I'm CEO of Adult Technology Consulting. We are IT consulting firm, blah, blah. Here's my card. Always, always be opportunistic, always. Even when, let me tell you 2 stories. So in 2014, I was part of the Young African Leaders Initiative. I applied and I became part of the Young African Leaders Initiative. Now, this initiative was started by President Barack Obama, the former US president. And the idea of it was to bring Africa's best and brightest to the US. We were supposed to spend, I ended up spending 3 months in the US. The first part of it was to spend time at an academic institution learning about business and business management. So I was sent to Yale University to learn. For 6 weeks I was in Yale School of Management learning about business entrepreneurship management. And then I got to spend the rest of the time we were in DC, Washington DC. I got to meet President Barack Obama. I got to meet Michelle Obama. I got to meet US officials. But let me tell you how that happened. Now, people were talking about it. There were friends that were talking about, oh, this thing is there, you have to apply for it. And I thought to myself, this thing is usually people who are doing non-profits or people that are, you know, that have built, you know, $10 million businesses that are usually invited to these things. So I don't know. I don't know that. So I chose to ignore it. And someone in my family said, look, you have to apply for this thing. This thing, it's like, this thing, the way I see the competition for this thing, because it's such a big initiative, and by the president of the US, this is not the former president of the US, it's such a big, I don't think that's, you know, with my little things that I'm doing, I'm not a $10 million business yet, I don't think I'm going to get in. But at the last minute, this is 2 days before the application closed, I went online and, you know, with the encouragement of my family, this family member, I applied. Now, guess what? There were people that had applied 2 months before, that had done a lot of work, that didn't get in. I got in, right? Always be seeing around you the opportunities. And it was such an amazing opportunity, just the opportunity. I now have pictures where I'm hugging Michelle Obama and, you know, I'm in the same room with Barack Obama. I said to myself, this is one of the things, we need to stop saying these things to ourselves. I said to myself, oh, this one, my business is not big enough to be going to spend with Barack Obama. But they picked me. Whether or not they, you know, how that happened, I don't care, I don't know. But they picked me, and that opened a lot of doors for my business. Because just having been on that program, and even till this day, if I say I'm a Yali fellow, immediately people that understand the program, people that know the program will immediately take you seriously. Be opportunistic. Always be looking around for opportunities to grow yourself, right? Always be looking around for opportunities to take you to the next level. It should never always be that I need money. Look, the Yale School of Management, I think to go and do a short course, like a 6-week course there, is something like $15,000 for the 6 weeks, right? And I got that opportunity to get it for free. Never let And when I say this, people are sometimes they think, "Oh, Ethel, you're being, you're being some way." But listen, never let money be the reason why you can't run your entrepreneurial venture, because there is always some way around it, right? Partnerships and collaboration. Partnerships and collaborations are always ways to get what you need. You have to, in your mind, you have to think about the outcome rather than this is what I need to make it happen, right? Think about what is the outcome. For me at the time with my for me it was how do I how do I grow my business with look for opportunities to grow my business, and found that Yali was an opportunity. Or how do I market my company, which was one of the big things. How do I market my company without spending $200 worth of marketing, right? Now, once I have that question in my head, right? Oh, I think I missed one thing. We'll come back. There's a question. There's one thing I missed, which is ask yourself the right question. Okay, my mistake, which I've sort of talked about a little bit. So it feeds back into ask yourself the right question. I've talked about it a little bit. So it's how do I get what I need without the resources that I need? How do I get this? How do I get the marketing to get to the right companies that I want to sell to without having $100,000 in my bank account? There are many times that you have a problem and then you are in the shower and you get an answer to the problem. What it is, the scientists say, and this is from research, that if you put the right question in your mind and you think about it over and over, you give your brain the chance to come up with solutions, right? So I know it happens to you. It happens to me too. You think about something, this is a problem you're having, you're driving in traffic, or you're sitting in the trotro, or you're in the shower, and then suddenly an idea comes to you. You have to frame the question, because if you frame it in the question like, oh, how can I get 100,000 Ghana cedis to do marketing? Then it's a different question in your mind versus how can I get in front of the customers that I want to sell to without having 100,000 cedis. Do you understand? It gives your brain a different set of questions to really think about and mull over. Your brain, we don't know how, according to research, your brain only uses, I think, 10% of its capacity, right? So if you give your brain a question for it to work on, sometimes even in the middle of the night, I've had that. In the middle of the night, you wake up and you have an answer. Frame a question in your mind in a way that you can give your brain a chance to come up with answers, and keep going until you find that place. Okay, back to be opportunistic. That's the thing I want to hammer on and end on. There are opportunities everywhere to get things done. Even just doing this video on pause. Now I could have hired my own team, created my own channel, taking God knows how many years. But I leveraged on relationships and the people that I knew to make to ensure that Ethel Kofi Startup School was distributed over Pulse Ghana, right? Be opportunistic. Don't always think one way. Look around you. Look at the network. Sometimes people forget this. Look at the network of people around you. The friendships you have, the people you know. Can they get you into that meeting with that CEO that you want to sell to? Can they help you? Is there somebody doing something that's a complementary business to yours, right? So that you can even cross market each other, or can you even sell your thing as a package, right? Maybe, I don't know, what's a good example? Maybe I sell shampoo and you sell conditioner. We can collaborate, right? And then we sell it as one package, we add a little bit more and we do packaging on it. And maybe your friend is doing some other business, you are doing some other business. Is there a way for you to collaborate? Always look at your network, the people around you, the friendships you have, the people you went to school with. You have no idea how many of my primary school friends I've just met, and I am the head of this at this company. So, I've been trying to get a meeting with your boss for years, and they just make it happen. that's why you need to make friends. This is why you need to make friends. Look at your network. Also look at the advantages that you have, right? You might have something that's very different from there. So the thing that I had, which was very different, was I loved writing, right? So I could write articles. Two, I had a very distinct set of skills. So because of the places that I had worked in my career, I had at one time been a software developer. I had one time been an IT consultant. I had worked in strategy. So those skills meant that when I talk to CEOs, I can talk to them about how IT is a strategic advantage for innovation. Do you get it? How IT is a so because I've used the distinct advantages of the things that I have learned over time. So look at the skill sets you have. You might have a combination of skill sets that are interesting, that are different. Leverage on that to see opportunities. I met a very interesting woman. I met a very interesting woman in the US a couple of years ago. She used to, so she's a chef and she cooks. But you know what? She doesn't own a catering company. Do you know how her company works? She uses the catering and the principles of cooking to teach Fortune 500 CEOs how to lead. And she makes a lot of money doing this. So she's a caterer, she's a chef, she can cook. And then she sat down and looked at, the principles of cooking, or the things that you do in cooking, teaches teamwork, leadership, management. So she didn't start a catering company. She styled herself as, CEOs, so if you don't know what Fortune 500 companies are, Fortune 500 companies are the top 500 companies in the world, right? And she teaches their CEOs, she brings them into her kitchen and brings their team into the kitchen. She teaches teamwork and building based on cooking, cooking skills. I mean, that's amazing, right? Be opportunistic. Always be looking at the things that you can put together. Look, your next business might not exist yet. That's fine. You will be the first person to take it to market. Go ahead and do it. So I believe that we've learned a lot today on how to be resourceful, how to ensure that we are not caught up and we're not stagnant in our entrepreneurial career by believing that, I need this amount of money, I need 5 team members, I need this, I need that. Know that as a human being, God has created you to be able to use your brain to be resourceful, to find ways of solving a problem. Okay, love you guys. I love that that you spent time with me. You shared with your network. There's so many shares this week, and you tagged people. I look forward to talking to you this next week. We spent this month just discussing the philosophy and the mindset and getting ready. And then next month we'll actually get into business validation, business models, and that sort of thing. So stay tuned. If you want to reach out to me, Ethel D. Kofi on Facebook or at Ethel Kofi on Twitter and Instagram. Where else can you find me? Yes, go to www.ethelkofi.com, and I want to get feedback so I can plan the sessions to meet your needs. So email me, leave me a message so that I can make sure I can address it. So enjoy the rest of your day. This has been the Ethel Kofi Startup School with Ethel Kofi.